Landing a giant bluefin tuna is a challenge, not least because anglers around the UK have only been allowed to do it for the last 2 years. The CHART programme, funded by the Westminster Government, licenses some tuna sport fishing boats in Devon, Cornwall, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now tuna anglers are facing a much tougher challenge to persuade politicians to secure its future. DEFRA officials have told the UK Bluefin Tuna Association that the catch and release CHART programme is out of scope for 2023. That's DEFRA speak for won't happen.
In anticipation of a licensed fishery, if not next year then in future years, and we were expecting at least a very limited pilot programme, which would probably involve the same skippers who are all geared up and have clients coming to Cornwall to fish with them. They've started taking bookings for next year, and to be told that, oh well, we're not doing it, we're not having a licensed fishery, and there might be a sort of small survey programme is very, very disappointing.
So if we don't have a CHART programme next year, or a legal recreational fishery, what we're going to end up with is an illegal recreational fishery. And as we've already seen this year and last year, we do have people out there fishing for bluefin without a licence. And without effective policing and enforcement, the likelihood is that the number of anglers wanting to target bluefin illegally will increase. Now, who can blame them? These are magnificent fish. We've got a world-class fishery here.
The association says that its conversations with DEFRA over the last 5 months focused on the possibility of replacing the CHART programme with a recreational fishery.
The Angling Trust and now the UK Bluefin Tuna Association, as we are, have been working on this with the government and with DEFRA for 4 years, and they've been dangling this recreational fishery in front of us, a licensed recreational fishery in front of us for 2 years, ever since we got the quota from ICAT. It's true that some DEFRA officials are very keen for this to happen, and there are some legislative obstacles to get over in order to make sure that we can run a licensing system.
Political pundit Nigel Farage is a bluefin enthusiast.
These are big fish, it's dangerous. Man overboard is a very real possibility when you've got one of these fish on. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have the right equipment. But I mean, for CHART, those 25 boats that are doing this in England already, they have spent big 5-figure money, all of them, on the right rods, the right reels, the right harnesses, the right chairs, everything to make it safe and correct for the angler. They've more than done their bit. Not to renew CHART would be an absolute betrayal of those men that have done this. So this needs to continue. It really does. And I'm going to give all the support and all the lobbying that I can.
The association says that while they're planning to end sport fishing, DEFRA officials are trying to progress their plans for a commercial bluefin tuna fishery.
We have no objection to a commercial fishery in principle, but only a limited one. And, we know that the Cornish fishing fleets are not prepared for catching tuna.
I have got no problem, honestly, with those local boats, those genuine not Japanese longliners, but those local. If those local West Country fishermen were allowed a couple of fish a month for 4 or 5 months a year, it would make zero difference to the amount of stock, but would make commercial fishing a lot more realistic for many who are struggling. So look, I have no problem with a sensible level of commercial landings. But it does appear in DEFRA's mind, they're prioritising with their application, they're prioritising the commercials and ignoring the huge economic benefits to those communities of recreational sea angling.
The Angling Trust has a meeting scheduled for this week with the new Fisheries Minister, Mark Spencer, and will be fighting for a U-turn.
We have said to him directly by letter, and we will in the meeting on Thursday the 15th, we will say this fishery is open, it's already functioning, but it's not legal. And really, do you want an illegal fishery operating in UK waters that you cannot manage? There's no enforcement available in Cornwall or Devon. There's no resources available for enforcement.
And the interest to book boats to go out and catch tuna is increasing. Now, whilst charter skippers that have been involved so far are already being asked for trips next year. So what are we to do? Are we to say no to these bookings because we don't know what's in place? Or do we accept the bookings knowing that there's a possibility that we may not be able to take them next year? course, these anglers who do book us to go bluefin tuna fishing next year will book accommodation, book time off work, and incur lots of expense. So it's really vital that there is some way that we can target these bluefin next year, whether that be through a chart programme or a licensed recreational fishery.
Anglers are determined to fight what they describe as a discriminatory decision.
We've done a lot of work and we've invested our time and money in trying to make this recreational fishery happen, and it's very, very disappointing when at every single turn we seem to be come up against obstacles, whether it's DEFRA or the behaviour of the scientific arm CFAS or all sorts of other things, not least the weather as well, of course, which causes havoc at certain times. And so we really are working very hard to try and make sure that we do get a recreational fishery.
As with many aspects of government, the loss of chart may be a funding issue. Tim says that DEFRA has asked them to look into funding sources to create what he calls chart light.
If they're going to do a chart programme next year, they're going to have to find alternative sources of funding. DEFRA officials and CFAS are talking about something called chart light, which is a pretty meaningless phrase, but what it does mean is if a chart programme goes ahead, it means instead of 25 boats, probably 5, maybe even 3. So an awful lot of people who've spent a lot of money investing in gear, have got a lot of clients waiting to go tuna fishing next year, won't be able to do it.
In the 2 years of English chart programmes, skippers, crews and anglers have tagged more than 1,800 fish. The bluefin tuna tagging programme only happened after many years of anglers battling DEFRA officials. They're determined not to lose this opportunity to follow their passion of landing the most magnificent big game fish in the UK.
So this is terrific sport fishing. And I had a day last year with my brother and nephew, Adam Evergizzy. We had 9 to the boat. 9 to the boat. 9 bluefin, up to 400 pounds in one day. I've spent tens of thousands of pounds going all over the world since the late 1980s. I've never had a better day's sport fishing in my life.
Right from the first take, when that reel screams, the adrenaline starts pumping. Heart starts going a bit faster, and then when that rod is taken from the gunnel, put into your harness and you're strapped to it, and you feel the full power of that fish. It really is the most amazing experience, and no other fish have I ever caught in the UK or around the world that can come close to the power of a bluefin tuna.